Welcome back from the break. Now, it's exactly a week since the National Democratic Congress filed a formal petition with the Inspector General of Police demanding the arrest and prosecution of Agric Minister Bryan Acheampong. Mr. Acheampong had been widely condemned for declaring the MPP will use any means necessary to win next year's general elections and will never hand over power to the NDC. Well, a week on, the police has failed to effect an arrest. The IGP instead called leaders of both the NDC and the MPP into a meeting in an attempt to calm political tensions. Let's share with you details of a release from the police service. Now, it says the police this afternoon met with leadership of the two parties. Now, the meeting, which was called at the instance of the Inspector General of Police, was necessitated by a press statement issued by the parties and subsequently followed by petitions to the police service, with each party calling on the police to arrest certain individuals of the other side for some alleged offenses. Now, after the meeting, both parties were given the opportunity to air their grievances. The main issue raised by them was in respect of comment by some political actors from both sides of the divide considered to be inflammatory. The police also briefed them on two strategic interventions introduced by the police administration to handle election and politically related incidents as part of the police transformation agenda. The police used the opportunity to provide an update on the status of political violence and related incidents recorded during the recent internal elections. Now, an update was also provided on the status of the 2020 general election-related cases, including Techiman South and Ododo constituencies, and the general public will be duly updated on these cases in the course of the week. Now, the first strategic intervention shared with them is the establishment of the Police Election Security Secretariat to work with all political parties and other stakeholders to enhance the management of security for all elections in the country. This is a complete departure from the old order where an election security task force was put together just a month before the general elections. Now, we understand that the election secretariat has worked with the various political parties in their respective internal elections from the polling stations through constituency to the national level. Now, what about the Bryan Acheampong incident? What update was given? The police indicate that they've used some, they've set up a legal team to subject all politically related individuals and incident to legal scrutiny to establish whether there are elements of crime or otherwise before any police action is taken. The police will, therefore, not intervene in any situation where there is no criminality involved. This is also a paradigm shift. Now, they say that this has been used to analyze all recent cases, such as comment made by the Honorable Minister of Food and Agriculture and the constituency youth organizer of the NDC at Swami, among others. Now, joining us is, we understand that the NDC is very unhappy with the outcome of this particular meeting. We've been joined by the national organizer of the MPP, Henry Nanabuachi, who was at this particular meeting for more on this. Henry, grateful that you could join us here. Now, you were at this particular meeting. What sort of, exact response did the police give on the back of the Bryan Acheampong comment?
Thank you very much, and good evening. Yes, for myself as a petitioner, I did not get a direct response or an official response from the police. I was in the meeting with my general secretary, and they mentioned to us that they have introduced two interventions into their operations. And I think you read it out. That is the setting up of the National Security Task Force Secretariat, and then also the setting up of a legal structure, sort of, which would put all politically related and then controversial comment through the system, and then they will analyze it legally. They have a legal team. They would use the applicable laws to analyze it, and then they will conclude whether it is in contrary to any law, or they would declare it as a crime or not. So that is what they did, and they did the same. They used the same process for the former president Mahama. The comment in the meeting, they played the video, and then the same process for the national chairman of the NDC and then Mr. Bryan Acheampong. And they concluded that it did not, all the cases did not meet the threshold to warrant any arrest, any investigation or prosecution from the police. However, if you consider that of the Swami, youth organizer who said that they should, when they meet MPP, they should hit the person with a stick. If you have a gun, you can shoot at the person. That for them was a patent act, and which will meet the threshold of a crime, and that is why the person was immediately apprehended, and then he was put before the law court. So, in their release, you could see that they did not directly respond to the petition of Mr. Amaliba and then that of my good self, because they said that they were going to officially respond.
We get a sense that the meeting put to rest all of these petitions that both of you had sent to them.
Indirectly, you can say yes, because they have displayed to us the processes they used and in analyzing all these comments. And even in the meeting, in my remarks, I said jokingly that it appears that this forum is trying to tell us indirectly that our petition, yes, they have analyzed it, but our petition did not meet any favorable consideration from the police. Then again, it's their discretion. I mean, we have to understand their work. But one thing that is clear is that it was a very good meeting. The National Chairman of the NDC, the General Secretary of the NDC, the National Communications Officer was there, myself and my General Secretary, we were also there. Okay. It was very cordial.
Okay.
And afterwards, we exchanged pleasantries. And what is important was that it was noted in the meeting that it appears that the political temperature is quite high. And then we political actors, especially we political leadership, we have an obligation to make sure that we bring this temperature down.
Okay.
And they said that they were going to do their policing very well. We should also do our politics very well.
Okay, grateful. Henry Nadabuache, I'm grateful that you could join us here. He is national organizer of the ruling NPP. Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana is proposing tariff adjustment to reflect current trends and also afford the struggling company the space to manage its finances. The company is also proposing that the government reviews its subsidy on electricity. Now, ECG is currently on a revenue mobilization drive to collect some 5.7 billion cedis owed by its customers. But the money, even if all is collected, will fall short of the debt obligations of the company. I will walk you through some of the pressing demands of ECG. But first, listen to Managing Director of the company, Samuel Dubik Mahama. We'll bring that back to you, but Isaac Ofeje is a data and research analyst here at Joy News, and he joins me with some details of the pick. Isaac, what do we know so far about the finances of ECG?
Well, so the bottom line is simple. ECG is owing, and they are not owing in cedis, but in dollars. And the last time we checked their books, it was right from 2018. They were making huge losses, somewhere around 2 billion Ghana cedis. It was just 2020 that ECG started making a profit, net profit of about 181 million Ghana cedis. And this year, they have to service a debt that they owe to IPPs. We spoke with the finance minister who said that the debt that they owe, ECG owes to this IPP is about $1.6 billion. And Brace, you know that ECG must settle this debt in dollars. And now that we are doing this whole debt restructuring, there will be no fiscal space to actually do such, debt servicing. So ECG must take upon itself to now collect revenues and pay their debts. They did same in 2020, and they were able to make profits. So they're hoping that this time around, the about 5 or 6 billion cedis that they'll collect, which if you convert to dollars, around $600 million, they will be able to use to pay the about 1.6 billion cedis that they owe to IPPs, and other, power, producers.
Saying that even if we do collect all, we won't still be able to.
It will be difficult because the bottom line here is exchange rate. So you don't owe this, debt in cedis. Okay. So now that anytime that the cedi goes up, remind you that your debts will also go up directly. So ECG is owing 1.6, but mind you, if the cedi moves to $1 to 13 cedis or 15 cedis, ECG would have to find additional money to fund this. So they are just hoping that the exchange rate will stay at 1 point and they will be able to service the 1.6 billion that they owe to their, power providers.
Okay, but how come this particular differences? The Dubik Mahama, who is the managing director of the company, has been explaining to Joy News.
Now, If you are not collecting enough, then what's your story? If it's even less in city-wise, collect enough so you can shift the burden onto somebody else's doorstep. You understand? So let's say, for example, if the cedi to the dollar was 1:1 and we're collecting 100 million, we are apples to apples in terms, but you don't have that in the perfect world that you are in now. So what are you going to do about it? That just collect enough, make sure your collections number and the rate is high enough, and then now you can ask to be given a seat in the room to discuss the way forward on the differences. So as for that one, I'll say when we get to that bridge with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Energy, we'll definitely cross it. But for now, we have to do what we have to do on our side as a company. And we also entreat the individuals and companies that purchase our product to know that we are at a point where you have to pay for what you have consumed. That's the whole conversation.
But how does the lay mind understand this gap? The gap between what you owe and how much people owe you?
So the gap is clear, because what we owe is in dollars and what we collect in cedis. You understand? So that's a whole tariff conversation about how to close the gap as quickly as possible. Maybe PURC has to start looking at leaving maybe some 2 or 3 or 4 pesos in there for us to close the gap on the cedi to dollar ratio, or PURC has to adjust the forex bandwidth. It's all a conversation to be had. But